Hello everyone, and welcome to the Fictional Vortex. So we are back with an interesting movie on what if Naruto was Athena's son and fall in love with Martha. But before we start, I just want to remind you to please subscribe to my channel and hit the like button if you enjoy my content. Let's start the story. Legacy of Athena and Hermes. The staff of Hermes. In a small messy apartment in the leaf, a blonde spiky hair almost 17-year was eating a late brunch after sleeping in from a long night of training. He had his chunin vest hanged up and was wearing an orange t-shirt, gray-blue pants with combat boots and a ninja headband around his forehead. This was Naruto Uzumaki, grandson of Athena, goddess of wisdom and battle strategy, and Hermes, messenger of the gods, as well as patron of Hestia, goddess of the hearth, and as of last month member of the Cloven Council as ambassador for the elemental nations. Although Naruto was chunin, he had a full schedule of training that day to prepare for when he would be tested to see if he's ready for the rank of Jonin. Or that was his plans. Tsunade gave him time off to prepare for it, but something ys comes up from satyrs needing help somewhere in the elemental nations. It was one of the reasons Naruto was given such an important position, as before the Second Titan War ended there were no one to help organize the satyrs in the elemental nations and make sure they got to their destinations. Times like this, Naruto wished he could just go back to just hanging out with his friends. He wouldn't be surprised right now his friend Percy Jackson and aunt on his father's side Annabeth were on their date right about now. Those two have been dating since Percy's 16th birthday last month. Naruto remembered as he led the camp to dunk the two new lovebirds into the canoe lake. Really, anyone could see those two had feelings for each other, which was what made it so easy to get the camp to agree to the stunt. That is to say, if Percy and Annabeth did kiss. If they didn't, Percy was still going to get dunked as a birthday surprise. They kept Annabeth out of it though just in case, and it worked out. Especially since Percy and Annabeth did ended up with privacy in the canoe lake. Naruto smirked, realizing it was Percy's and Annabeth's 1-month anniversary, and knowing those two for 4 years, he bet Annabeth is expecting something. And knowing Percy, his dark-haired surrogate brother forgot. If so, Percy will have to face that on his own, Naruto thought, as Percy does have a tendency to rely on his friends for help when he's facing a problem. Not that Naruto could be any help with love stuff. The last thing Naruto checked, he was still single. Suddenly, there was a knock at Naruto's front door, and it sounded urgent. Naruto sighed. Satyr must be facing problems again, Naruto muttered as he got up. The urgent knocking continued. I'm coming, Naruto responded, opening the door. XP. CTing Shizune or Sakura or even Kakashi telling him he was needed. Instead, he saw his gramps, Hermes, wearing a brown uniform shirt and knee-length shorts along with black socks and cleats. His curly salt and pepper hair stuck out around the edges of his brown cap. He looked young enough, at mid-30s, to be Naruto's father than grandfather. Heck, both even have the same upturned eyebrow and sharp nose. Only Hermes seemed upset. He kept patting his pockets and ridging his hands. Not to mention his clothes were out of place, as the no male carriers dressed like that in the elemental nations, so Naruto knew something must be wrong for his grandfather to be here dressed like that. Gramps, Naruto said in rather surprise, and for another good reason. This was the first time any of his grandparents visit him in the elemental nations. Most of the time Naruto see them was either at Camp Half-Blood or on Mount Olympus. Hermes scanned the area around if he was afraid of being watched. Can I come in? I need to talk to you, alone, Hermes said. Sure. Naruto opened the door wider, letting his grandfather in. Hermes entered Naruto's small one-person apartment. Listen, Naruto, what I'm about to tell you. You can't tell your grandmother. She'll never stop teasing me if she finds you. She already thinks she's much clever than I am. Okay, Naruto said. I mean it, Naruto. I would have gone to your friend Percy. But he's on a date with that girl. Naruto guessed Hermes meant Annabeth, and that Annabeth and Hermes were still in dispute about Luke. Naruto also noticed Hermes was jittery than usual. He tucked a curl of gray hair beneath his ear. He patted his pockets again. His hands didn't seem to know what to do. He then realized there were two things missing: the voices of the two SNA Kes from his grandfather's staff, George and Martha. Where's your staff? Naruto asked. Where's George and Martha? Hermes. I twitched. He looked like he was about to cry, not that Naruto blame him. Before finding out his heritage, Naruto haven't really liked snakes since his first encounter with the snake Son and Orochimaru. But after first meeting George and Martha, Naruto would admit he grew. And to see the two little snakes as part of his family along with Hermes. Did something happen to your staff? Naruto asked. It was stolen, Hermes replied. What? Naruto responded. How did that happen? Hermes slumped into one of Naruto's chairs. He stared at his empty hands. I only left them alone for a minute. It was a stupid mistake. I was late with a delivery. I stopped at Rockefeller Center and was delivering a box of doormats to Janice. He works at the network television, in charge of programming and what comes and goes. Anyway, I was bringing him some magic doormats and I was double parked and left my caduceus on the dashboard and ran inside with the box. Then I realized I needed to have Janice sign for delivery, so I ran back to the truck and the caduceus was gone. If that ugly brute has harmed my snake, I swear by the sticks. Wait, you know who stole your staff? Naruto asked. Hermes snorted. Of course, Naruto. I checked the security cameras in the area. I talked with the wind nymphs. The thief was clearly Kakuz. Quote, Kakuz. The name ranged bells in Naruto's head, wait as in the fire-breathing giant son of Hephaestus. Well, a small giant at maybe 10 feet tall. Naruto started to see why Hermes would want him to go. Since Naruto agreed to be Hestia's champion, he was immune to fire attacks. Heck, it made sense why Hermes thought of going to Percy since he was the son of Poseidon. Kakuz always trying to steal things from the gods. Very annoying. He used to hide out in a cave on Capitoline Hill, where Rome was founded. Nowadays, he's in Manhattan. Underground somewhere, I'm sure. And you want me to steal your staff back from Kakuz, Naruto said. Before the other gods notice, Hermes said. Quietly before 5 o'clock this evening so I can finish my deliveries. The caduceus serves as my signature pad, my GPS, my phone, my parking permit, my iPod shuffle. Really, I can't do a thing without it. Okay, I'll get it, Naruto said. Can you tell me where Kakuz is? Hermes shrugged. I'm sure you can figure that out, Naruto. Just be mindful of the caduceus. The tip can turn people into stone. And there's laser mode that you have to be careful with if you somehow unlock it. It's very dangerous. I'll try to be careful, Naruto said. But in return I want you to do me a favor, or rather do Percy a favor. Hermes raised an eyebrow. What do you have in mind for Percy? Naruto told Hermes that it was Percy's and Annabeth's 1-month anniversary, and he got a feeling that, knowing Percy, his surrogate brother forgot about it and haven't planned anything. It doesn't have to be anything special and you can use that trust fund you and Grands for them to use, Naruto said. Hermes nodded. I'll see what I can do if you succeed. Naruto was grateful for that as Hermes left. Mostly because he was going to have to go to Percy and Annabeth to use Annabeth's shield to find Kakuz, and he was going to have to figure out how to do that Hermes situation. Naruto put on his vest and even strapped his body restraint-like straps that when he touched the cuffling a set of bronze wings forms. Naruto thought of going to Camp Half-Blood and getting one of the Hellhound P.S. of his two-headed dog Orthus and Percy's Hellhound Mrs. O'Leary, but decided against it as it would definitely cause a lot of questions from Annabeth of what kind of quest Naruto be on to need a Hellhound. Naruto took a golden apple out of a drawer. The golden apple of Hesperides Naruto stole from the tree of Hesperides under Ladon's nose. Only his was blessed to take him between worlds so Naruto doesn't have to be bound to one world. Naruto took out a kunai knife and stabbed it and Naruto disappeared in a flash of bright light. Ellipsis. In an apartment at Manhattan Naruto appears in a bright flash Naruto. Good to be home, Naruto said as he put up his apple. He made the hand sign and shouted, transform. A puff of smoke covered Naruto and when it cleared, although his physical appearance hasn't changed. His clothes changed to 17-year-olds in Manhattan wear. Now to find Percy and Annabeth, Naruto said as he disappeared in a flash and reappeared on the green lawn in Central Park. Shocking Annabeth and Percy to the point they draw their weapons. Naruto. What the heck? Annabeth screamed although Percy looked rather relieved to see his best friend. Sorry guys, But I need a favor, Naruto said. I need to use your shield, Annabeth. What for? Percy asked. And aren't you training for your Jonin test? I was, but an important quest came up, Naruto said. I need to look for a fire-breathing giant named Kakuz. Annabeth frowned. The son of Hephaestus. Why are you looking for him? I can't say much other than it's an important quest, Naruto said. Please. Naruto put his best begging face. Come on, Annabeth. It's not like Naruto asked a lot from us anyways, Percy said. Just last week I got a request from him to expand Olympians Ichiraku. Annabeth said, quote, that was in case my friends from the elemental nations gets to see Olympus I can treat them to ramen, Naruto pointed out. Besides I'm not asking you guys to join me. I just need the shield to find Kakuz. Annabeth sighed. Fine. Naruto inwardly sighed with relief. Mostly on the fact he didn't have to explain what the quest was. Annabeth took a bronze plate with cheese and cracker crumbs on it. Beth brushed off the crumbs and tossed the plate into the air. It expanded as it spun, and when it landed in the grass, it was a full-size bronze shield with a highly polished surface reflecting the sky. Although Hermes told Naruto Kakuz was underground and the shield show aerial images, it was the best thing Naruto could think of to find Kakuz without asking Hinata with her Byakugan since her Mise made it clear he didn't want anyone else to know, and asking Hinata to come would involve telling her about the staff. At least with the shield, Naruto can get an idea of Kakuz's location without having to get Percy or Annabeth involved. Shield, I want to see Kakuz. Light rippled across the bronze surface until they were looking down at a landscape of dilapidated warehouses and crumbling roads. A rusty water tower rose above the urban blight. I was informed Kakuz was here in Manhattan. That doesn't look like anywhere in Manhattan, Naruto said. Annabeth snorted. That's because it isn't in Manhattan. That's Secaucus, New Jersey. This stupid shield has a sense of humor. She rapped her knuckles on the bronze surface. Okay. Very funny, shield. Now I want to see. Show me the location of the fire-breathing giant Kakuz. The image changed to a more familiar part of Manhattan. Renovated warehouses, brick-paved streets, a glass hotel and an elevated track that had been turned into a park with trees and wildflowers. That's the High Line Park, Percy said. In the meatpacking district. Oh yeah. Grover told me about that place, Naruto said. He was planning to send Tyrs there to help boost the growth of plant life there since the park opened up. Yeah, Annabeth agreed. But where's the giant? She frowned in concentration. The shield zoomed in on an intersect blocked off with orange barricades and detour signs. Construction equipment sat idle in the shadow of the High Line. Chiseled in the street was a big square hole, cordoned off with yellow police tape. Steam billowed from the pit. Why would the police seal off a hole in the street? I remember this, Annabeth said. It was on the news yesterday. A construction worker got hurt. Some freak accident way below the surface. They were digging a new service tunnel or something, and fire broke out. That must be where Kakuz is then, Naruto said, knowing all too well that the mist can make anything mystical look like something normal to mortals. Thanks guys, I can take it from here. Naruto jumped off to find the meatpacking district. Ellipsis. Most mortals take cabs to places in Manhattan. But not Naruto. He knew how bad traffic can be in Manhattan and actually preferred to run as it was faster for him. Plus, it helped Naruto had a natural sense of GPS in his brain help him find his way around. Naruto arrived at West 15th. The streets were bustling with a mix of sidewalk vendors, workers, shoppers, and tourists. Naruto made his way to the construction site. 2 police officers stood at the intersection. But Naruto was able to sneak past them through the barricade, but not before placing a seal there for emergency escape. The hole in the street was about the size of a garage door. Pipe scaffold hung over it with a sort of winch system, and metal climbing rungs had been fastened into the side of the pit, leading down. Naruto snuck down the hole and descended easy. The rungs seemed to go down forever as the square of daylight above him got smaller and smaller, just the echo of trickling water. Every 20 feet or so, a dim light flickered next to the ladder, but didn't make the descent any less creepy. Eventually Naruto just cancelled his transformation jutsu to look like a ninja on a mission and placed a celestial bronze kunai in his mouth, so Naruto has better light. Finally Naruto, to reach the bottom as his feet hit muck in a splash. Naruto looked around and found himself in a factory-size cavern. The tunnel he entered from emptied into it like a narrow chimney. The rock walls bristled with old cables, pipe, and lines of brickwork. Busted water pipes sent a steady drizzle of water down the walls, turning the floor muddy. There wasn't much light, but the cavern looked like a cross between a construction zone and a flea market. Scattered around the cave were crates, toolboxes, pallets of timber, and stacks of steel pipes. There were even a bulldozer half sunken in the mud. Several old cars were down there too, filled with suitcases and mounds of purses. Racks of clothing had been carelessly tossed around like somebody had cleaned out a department store. Naruto. Sense. None of the stuff was real deal or worth much. Another gift of Hermes is Naruto can sense valuable stuff, so he knows real deal from fake copies. Hanging from meat hooks on a stainless steel scaffold as a row of cow carcasses, skinned, gutted, and ready for butchering that obviously weren't fresh from the smell and flies. There was no sign of the giant, but Naruto crept through the cave to be sure. After all, he wasn't about to come all this way just to turn around without making sure no one was home. Naruto snuck through a 20-foot diameter tunnel of darkness that was perfectly round. Naruto could only guess how all this stuff ended up down there. One of the bulldozers obviously went through battle as its caterpillar treads were busted, the seats was charred to crisp. In the front of the rig, the big shovel was tented as if used for a punching bag. Naruto finally reached the middle of the cave when a groan echoed from the far tunnel where the beaten dozer was. A giant appeared in the darkness stretching his massive arms. Naruto dove behind a bulldozer. Breakfast, the giant rumbled, revealing himself. The giant tall, small for a giant. He had curly orange hair, pale skin, and orange freckles. His face was smeared upward with a permanent pout, upturned nose, wide eyes, and arched eyebrows, so he appeared both startled and unhappy. He wore a red velour housecoat with matching slippers. The housecoat was open, revealing silky valentine-patterned boxer shorts and luxurious chest hair of red, pink, orange color. Naruto remembered from the stories that Kakuz was a negotiable giant. It was a long shot, but Naruto thought to try to use it to his advantage. Since being the grandson of Hermes, Naruto was gifted in negotiations. Naruto came out keeping his kunai knife. Kakuz looked at Naruto. "Who are you? Where you came from?" "My name is Naruto Uzumaki. I'm a hero," Naruto said. "Demigod." The giant grinned. "I call for breakfast, and you appear. That's quite accommodating. I'm a legacy, actually. And I'm not breakfast," Naruto responded. "No, too bad. I imagine you taste wonderful with tortillas, salsa, and eggs. Huevos semidios. Just thinking about it makes me hungry." He sauntered over to the row of fly-specked cow carcass. Kakuz snatched one of the carcasses off a hook. He blew a red-hot torrent of flame that cooked the meat in seconds but didn't seem to hurt the giant's hands at all. Once the cow was crispy and sizzling, Kakuz unhinged his jaw, opening his mouth impossibly wide, and downed the carcass in 3 massive bites, bones and all. Great, he's immune to fire too, Naruto thought. The giant belched. He wiped his steaming greasy hands on his robe and grinned at Naruto. "So, if you're not breakfast, you must be customers. What can I interest you in?" He actually seemed happy to talk to Naruto. Naruto took a deep breath and stepped forward. "That depends. What do you sell?" Kakuz laughed. "What do I sell? Everything, demigod. I'm a legacy," Naruto said. "Same thing. At the bargain basement prices, and you can't find a basement lower than this." He gestured around the cavern. "I've got designer handbags, Italian suits, some construction equipment, apparently. And if you're in the market for Rolex." He opened his robe. Pinned to the inside was a glittering array of gold and silver watches. All were fakes, but Naruto wanted to keep Kakuz on his side for the moment. "Did you make all of these?" Naruto asked. "No, I steal the best knockoffs I can find. I'm the son of Hephaestus. I know quality fakes when I see them." "Of course," Naruto nodded. "Sometimes I'll make my own copies if I find a high-quality item, but it's easier to steal things. I started with cattle thieving, You know, back in the old days. Love cattle. That's why I settled in the meatpacking district. Then I discovered they have more than meat here. He grinned like he made an amazing discovery. Street vendors, high-end boutiques, this is a wonderful city, even better than ancient Rome. And the workers were very nice to make me this cave. Before you ran them off and almost killing them, Naruto thought, then cleared his throat. I'm looking for something real. And magic. But I guess you don't have anything like that. Ha. Kakuz clapped his hands. A high-end shopper. If I haven't got what you need in stock, I can steal it, for the right price, of course. How about Hermes' staff, Caduceus? Naruto asked. Apparently Naruto crossed the line that he didn't know was there. The giant's face turned as red as his hair. His eyes narrowed. I see. I should have known Hermes would send someone. You said you were a legacy. How are you related to him? He's my grandfather, Naruto said. I'm Naruto Uzumaki, the grandson of Athena and Hermes of the Elemental Nations and champion of Hestia and member of the Council of Cloven Elders. Kakuz threw back his head and laughed. Oh, I see. That was supposed to scare me. But alas, the only demigod who ever defeated me was Hercules. For centuries I was the terror of Italy. I stole many cows, more than any other giant. Mothers used to scare their children with my name. They would say, "Mind your manners, child, or Kakuz will come and steal your cows. You may as well give up, demigod. You'll never get the Caduceus. I have plans for that." He raised his hand and the staff of Hermes appeared in his grip, radiating with power. The staff was smooth white wood around 3 feet long, topped with a silver sphere and dove wings that flutters. Intertwined around the staff were 2 live, very agitated serpents. Naruto. A reptilian voice spoke in Naruto's head. Thank the gods. Another snaky voice, deeper and grumpier, said. Yes, I haven't been fed in hours. Martha, George, Naruto called. Are you guys all right? Better if I got some food. George complained. There are some nice rats down here. Could you catch us some? George, stop. Martha chided. We have bigger problems. This giant wants to keep us. Kakuz looked back and forth between Naruto and the snakes. Wait, you can speak with the snakes, Naruto Uzumaki. That's excellent. Tell them they'd better start cooperating. I'm their new master, and they'll only get fed when they start taking orders. The nerve, Martha shrieked. You tell that ginger jerk. Kakuz, the snakes will never obey you, Naruto said, still trying to negotiate things. They only work for Hermes. Since you can't use the staff, it doesn't do you any good. Just give it back and we'll pretend this never happened. The giant snarled. Oh, I'll figure out the staff's powers, boy. I'll make the snakes cooperate. Kakuz shook the caduceus. George and Martha wriggled and hissed, but they were stuck to the staff. Naruto knew the caduceus could turn into all sorts of helpful things, a sword, a cell phone, a price scanner for easy comparison shopping. Naruto even saw it as a bazooka that fires a cool laser against Typhon. He hopes Kakuz doesn't figure that out. The giant growled in frustration. He slammed against the nearest cow carcass and instantly the meat turned to stone. A wave of petrifaction spread carcass to carcass until the rack became so heavy it collapsed. Half a dozen granite cows broke to pieces. Now, that's interesting. Kakuz beamed. That must be the petrifaction power Gramps was talking about. Naruto thought. The giant swung the staff in Naruto's direction. Yes, soon I will master this thing and be as powerful as Hermes. I'll be able to go anywhere. I'll steal anything I want, make high-quality knockoffs, and sell them around the world. I will be the lord of traveling salesmen. Seriously, Naruto responded with a sweat drop. Ha ha, Kakuz raised the caduceus in triumph. I had my doubts, but now I'm convinced. Stealing this staff was an excellent idea. Now let's see how I can kill you with it. Wait, you mean it wasn't your idea to steal Gramps' staff? Naruto asked. Kill them. Kakuz ordered the snakes. He pointed the caduceus at Naruto. But the silver tip only spewed slips. Naruto picked up one and read it. It's a coupon for 85% off on piano lessons, Naruto said. Gah. Kakuz glared at the snakes and breathed a fiery warning shot over their heads. Obey me. George and Martha squirmed in alarm. Stop that, Martha cried. We're cold-blooded. George protested. Fire is not good. Hey, Kakuz, Naruto yelled. Answer me this. Who told you to steal Gramps' staff? The giant sneered. Foolish demigod. When you defeated Kronos, did you think you eliminated all the enemies of the gods? You only delayed the fall of Olympus for a little while longer. Without the staff, Hermes will be unable to carry messages. Olympian communication lines will be disrupted, and that's only the first bit of chaos my friends have planned. Your friends? Naruto asked. Kakuz waved off the question. Doesn't matter. You won't live that long, and I'm only in for the money. With this staff, I'll have millions. Maybe even thousands. He got that wrong. Naruto thought. He planned to take over Gramps' job and he got that wrong. Now hold still. Perhaps I can get a good price on a demigod statue. Naruto took out Uzushio no Orochi and clicked it as it expanded into its full katana form. Kakuz unhinged his Naruto. Naruto admit Kakuz's fire breath stinks, but he was immune to fire and his clothes were magically made to know. Chi burned from Calypso herself as thanks for freeing her. Naruto moved in and with his katana sharpened with wind chakra, he slashed a deep cut into Kakuz's knee. Kakuz swung the caduceus but Naruto disappeared in a flash as the silver tip hit the bulldozer and the entire machine turned to stone. Naruto was hiding behind some fake Prada women coats. I'll kill you. Kakuz stumbled, golden ichor pouring from his wounded leg. He blew flames at the fake Prada. Naruto ducked and rolled dodging the attack as the fake coat started burning. The giant roared, "Look what you've done. Those are genuine fake Prada." New plan. Naruto made the hand signs. Multi-shadow clone jutsu. Naruto created a dozen shadow clones that charged. Naruto clicked the cufflings and celestial bronze wings formed. Naruto focused Wind chakra to the wings so he can create lift as he flap his wings. As the shadow clones fight the giant, Naruto planted paper bombs into the sewer pipes. Gah! The giant screamed. Naruto noticed a clone had slashed the giant's other leg. Another released a wind scythe jutsu at the back end of the giant. Kakuz staggered as he turned around and grabbed Naruto clone and squeezed until the clone disappeared in a puff of smoke. Enough. Kakuz leveled the staff at the clones. The staff changed form and became a cell phone and rang to the tune of Macarena. George and Martha were now earthworms size, curled around the screen. Good one, George said. We danced to this at our wedding, Martha said. Remember, dear, those two are married, Naruto and his clones thought. Stupid snakes. Kakuz shook the cell phone violently. Eek, Martha said. Help. Me. George's voice quivered. Must. Obey. Red. Bathrobe. The phone grew back into a staff. Now, behave. Kakuz warned the snakes, or I'll turn you two into a fake Gucci handbag. Naruto planted the last remaining paper bomb. Hey Kakuz. Naruto yelled. You're lame and your fake duplicates are stupid. Kakuz unhinged his jaw and breath fire. Naruto flew away, toward every placed paper bomb. Kakuz burned each paper bomb, and in minutes, the paper bombs exploded, sending the entire sewer system of Manhattan slamming into Kakuz. Naruto disappeared in a flash. Naruto appeared outside the barricade and moved out of the way of the hole. Flashes of memories from the shadow clones raced through Naruto's head and the memory of the taste of sewer water filled his mouth. Blah, that had to be the grossest thing ever. Naruto gagged. And I still have to get Gramps' staff. In the distant a snaky voice spoke in Naruto's mind. Gag me, said George. Even for me that was disgusting, and I eat rats. Incoming, Martha warned. Oh, no, I think the giant has figured out. An explosion shook the street. Or rather the second one of the day. A beam of blue light shot out of the tunnel, carving a trench up the side of a glass building, melting windows and vaporizing concrete. The giant climbed from the pit, his velour housecoat, steaming, and his face splattered with slime. He did not look happy. In his hands was a bazooka with snake wrapped around the barrel and a glowing blue muzzle. Oh my gods, Naruto said, he figured out laser mode. Kakuz took aim and Naruto quickly fled out of there as laser fired down the street to where Naruto was. You ruined my fake Rolexes. Kakuz yelled. They weren't waterproof, you know. For that, you die. Naruto kept running, trying to dodge traffic and pedestrians. Naruto headed to the park where there be less trouble. Naruto jumped up the park stairs. Sirens screamed in the distance, but more police was the one thing Naruto didn't want. Naruto reached the park, which was fortunately empty. Oh thank gods, Naruto sighed in relief. Below Naruto, Kakuz was roaring, cursing, and offering panicked mortals deep discounts on slightly damp Rolexes. And he wants to be the god of traveling salesmen, Naruto said. Okay, now is a good time for Sage Mode. Naruto gathered Natura Chakra and go into Sage Mode. Death. Kakuz stormed up the steps onto the high line. His red velour robe was in tatters. He'd lost his slippers. His ginger hair was plastered to his head like greasy shower cap. He aimed his glowing bazooka. George, Martha, Naruto called. Please change out of laser mode. We're trying, dear, Martha said. My stomach hurts, George said. I think he bruised my tummy. Naruto backed up slowly, making the hand signs, as Kakuz followed. So, Kakuz growled. Any last words? Yeah, you're a pathetic excuse of a salesman. Naruto yelled. Gah. Kakuz lowered the caduceus and pulled the trigger, but the caduceus changed into a credit card machine, and a paper receipt fired out. Oh yeah, George yelled. One for the snakes. Stupid staff. Kakuz threw down the caduceus in disgust. Naruto disappeared as a piece of log took his place. Naruto appeared behind Kakuz with the giant Rasengan. Sage style. Giant Rasengan. Naruto yelled as he slammed the Rasengan into Kakuz. The force was so great that it sent Kakuz flying into the air. Naruto could easily finish this with another jutsu, but Naruto wanted to try something that he'd been wanting to do since he saw Hermes fought Typhon. He grabbed his grandfather's staff, which was still in credit card swiping machine. George Martha, I know you're tired, but you think you can turn into that laser mode. Naruto said, I'll take the subway back to where I'm meeting Gramps so you can eat some rats. Deal, George said. Sure thing honey, Martha said. The staff turned into a high-tech bazooka. Naruto took careful aim and found Kakuz where he landed. Pull. The caduceus blasted its beam of blue light, and the giant disintegrated into beautiful stardust. That, George said, was excellent. May I have a rat now? I have to agree with George, Martha said. A rat would be lovely. Sure thing. You too, Naruto said. Ellipsis. As promised, Naruto took the subway so George and Martha could get their all-they-can-eat rat buffet. Naruto met Hermes by the Atlas statue at Rockefeller Center, which looked nothing like Atlas. Thank the fates, Hermes cried. I'd just about given up hope. He took the caduceus and patted the heads of his sleepy snakes. There, my friends. You're home now. Said Martha. Yummy. George murmured in his sleep. They're fine. They had a well-deserved rat feast on the way here, Naruto said. I hope that won't be a problem though. Hermes sighed. Thank you, Naruto. I can still finish my deliveries. But what happened with Kakuz? Naruto told Hermes the story. When Naruto told him what Kakuz said about someone else giving him the idea to steal the caduceus, and the gods having other enemies, Hermes' face darkened. Kakuz wanted to cut the gods' communication lines, did he? Hermes mused. That's ironic, considering Zeus has been threatening. His voice trailed off and then he said, nothing. Never mind. Right. Naruto responded. Any idea which enemies Kakuz was talking about? Or who would want him to steal your caduceus? Hermes fidgeted. Oh, could be any number of enemies. We gods do have many. At any rate, well done, Naruto. Now I must be going. So many stops. What about Percy and Annabeth? Naruto asked. Oh don't worry, I send them on a romantic date in Paris with a debit card linked to your account. And if your aunt asks, it was Percy's idea, Hermes said. Anyways, I'll pick them up in an hour. Good, Naruto responded. Hermes rubbed his hands. Say goodbye, George and Martha. Goodbye, George and Martha, said George sleepily. Z's, said Martha. I may not see you in a while, Naruto, but I hope you do well with your Jonin test, Hermes said. He snapped his fingers and he dissolved. Ellipsis. Naruto made it back to his apartment back in the Leaf Village and collapsed. He may have not got any training done, but he felt he deserved a break after fighting a 10 feet tall fire-breathing giant. The end. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Remember to subscribe and like this video. See you in the next video.